Hello, Anthony.
Hello, Claudine.
IRS Notice CP40. It's a relatively new notice.
It's new.
It is. It's because the IRS now has to use private debt collection agencies for some taxpayers that owe certain tax debts.
Yep.
We've talked about it a little bit in the past, but this notice makes it a little more official here that's going to be going out to taxpayers. What you should do, the IRS says you can read our information online, access our private debt collection link, and they really don't give you too much helpful information on the website. I think the big question here is how can you be sure the private collection agency contacting you is not a scammer? There's so many IRS scams.
There are so many IRS scams. We've seen in the past, this is a recent one, the IRS has sent out fraudulent notice CP2000, and we did a video recently on a CP2000, what it is, how the IRS is proposing a change. And it is a concern of ours. This is now, Congress is the one who passed this law mandating that the IRS engage in private collections. The IRS, I'm pretty sure, doesn't want to do it because they did it on their own initiative back in 2008, and they stopped it immediately because it was a complete disaster. But Congress knows better, right? So Congress is saying, hey, you guys have to go do this. Now, in the past 3 years, who hasn't heard of the IRS scam calls, right? They are pretty prevalent.
Call centers they busted up in India.
Yeah, and now they didn't get the guy. And I was wondering if they were actually going to get the guy. And there was an interview with him to say, oh, no, I'm still up and running, and they haven't gotten me. It was basically it was a lot of staging of a bust, but there was no bust. And he was actually out there saying, like, no, I'm still here. I'm fine. I'm not getting extradited. Yeah, I'll be up in business. And they're already back.
Yeah.
And so the issue that I have with this is anybody looking what the IRS is going to do, okay, what's the IRS process for sending for a notice?
So the IRS says, don't worry. Your CP2000 notice contains the name and contact information of the private collection agency assigned to your account.
Yeah.
Well, you could just look up what those collection agencies are and put that on your fake scam letter.
Right.
And then you're going to call your call center in India.
Right. And on my fake CP40, I just changed the number. And then I'd answer the call as whatever one of the legitimate companies are. And there it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, so did you get that notice we sent you? Great. Okay. So could you read me back or let me read you. Yeah. The verification code. Okay. We have your identity secured. Okay. So it looks like you owe a little bit of taxes. And so why don't you get that Amazon gift card or go to Target and get your iTunes gift card to pay your taxes. It's a new convenient way we're helping people pay their taxes with.
I think what a lot of reason these scams work is, well, the IRS scares people, but sometimes they don't know. They're like, maybe I do owe taxes. And I think when I was reading this, I'm like, this would be good for our TTD, our total tax diagnosis, because people can actually find out, do I owe or don't I owe?
Yeah, and that's something we came up with because, so many people don't owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and maybe getting a full-blown tax attorney, getting us involved to do a full representation isn't exactly worth it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So it's a really good way to dip your toe in the water to figure out, hey, what is going on? How much do you owe? Do you have things coming up that might expire soon? Tax debts do go away over a certain amount of time. The rules are a little complicated, so sometimes a very old debt may still be around, whereas one that is 10 years old could be really, really close to being wiped out. And so before you go and make a huge mistake, pay money that you probably didn't have to, because once you pay it, you ain't getting it back.
No.
They're not going to give you a refund to say, hey, I just saw, you guys only had 3 months left to collect and I paid you.
Yeah.
So would you give me some of that back? Because I made a
little mistake.
I made a little mistake. I'd really, really like that money. They're like, nah, no, thanks. We'll keep that.
The TTD will also tell people if they're at a higher risk for audit. So that would that help sort of understand if they might be getting scammed or not?
No, I don't think that's going to help.
No.
And, it does help determine under the standard rules for audit determination, whether or not you're being audited. But, these are still things that when we developed that, it was really under the standard rules because we still are flying a little blind on a lot of the ways that the IRS is adjusting its audits, that they're auditing people in a way that is not like how they used to. It will give you a general idea because they're still auditing some people. I would say this, yes, it will tell you if you're at heightened audit risk. However, your overall audit risk is lower than it was 5 years ago, simply because the IRS has half the revenue agents they used to have in 2010.
Now, there was a question on the irs.gov page. Can the collection agencies work with me on payments? Technically, yes. They can send you the link to pay the IRS directly in full. And then it also sounds like you can work with them to set up an installment agreement,
Yeah.
which I don't know if that's a great idea because they're not going to have your best interest at heart. It's a basic call center employee. It's not an
Yeah.
IRS employee. So they've just gone through some IRS training.
Yeah.
So are they going to be really good at understanding what your actual ability to afford every month
Well,
is?
you're assuming that an IRS employee knows
Would.
too. So I would say they're probably on equal ground.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they're probably on equal ground. And remember, their job, IRS employees work for the IRS, not you. And here it is. I mean, to prove it, they can outsource to a collection agency. This is not somebody whose job it is to say, oh, well, you see, you're in hard times. Well, if you just adjust your figures like this, I can get you in a payment of $0 a month. That's not their job. They're like, hey, what can you borrow?
Now, if you don't want to work with the assigned private collection agency to settle your tax account, you have to submit the request in writing first. And then I'm assuming you can work with the IRS. If people call us and they hire us, we would get the power of attorney, so we would actually be able to reach out to that private
take
debt
care
collection
of that.
agency.
Yeah, and you did some research on these private debt collection agencies and some of the ratings they got, the reviews.
Not great.
Not great.
And I know they're collection agencies. People aren't necessarily going to give them the best reviews. They
Right.
want your money. But overall, they were abusive.
Yeah.
They were rude. They were hanging up on people.
Yeah, well, then there was also some of the reviews that were a little concerning were people who didn't owe money. To say, oh, no, I don't owe money to them. They called me for information on someone who used to live here, and I just said, I don't know, and the person turned nasty and abusive and accused me of all mean and nasty things.
Yeah.
So that sort of lends credibility maybe to some of those reviews from people who they were collecting from, sort of that abusive tone. Who does like collection calls? I mean, there's a reason why they do collection calls, because they tend to work to a degree, but with taxes, their bills are usually a little bit higher, and they can get out of control a lot. There's a lot at stake, and the difference, this is really a huge, huge difference between private debt collectors and the IRS. A private debt collector, okay, they can be as mean and nasty as they want to do and yell and scream all they want to do. There's nothing they can do without a court order. So they have an incentive normally to say, okay, well, what can you do here? Because we really don't want to go to court. Okay. All right. We'll work with you. Now you're taking those same people who say, well, we don't have to worry about that because if you don't respond, we just have to send you a few notices and we're just going to wipe out your accounts like that. And so you'll be able to be a lot more aggressive and say, hey, you better do this or else.
So it sounds like these collection agencies can't help people get into things like offer and compromise or hardship status.
No, they cannot.
So if you do receive one of these notices and you're not quite sure what to do, you just want to settle your tax debt once and for all, don't hesitate to contact us. You can call us at 888-727-8796 or email info@irsmedic.com. And I'd say, too, if we have anybody watching that's dealt with one of these private debt collection agencies, we'd like to hear your story.
Absolutely.
You can like and comment below and subscribe to our channel for more awesome tax updates. We want to thank you for watching.